Hi.
Hi! Hello, everyone. It's Mxiety. I am on tonight with the lovely Dr. Rachel Kowert. I know your last name. Oh my goodness.
You do.
With the lovely Dr. Rachel Kowert, who is also now known as Psychist, which is the coolest freaking nickname ever. Hello, Dr. Kowert.
Hello, Em. Thank you for having me back on.
Thank you for coming on. I also love your jacket and your little take this pin and
I'm usually not this dressed up, but I actually got to talk to a summer camp of girls who game today.
That's
They
so
were
cool.
Adorable and wonderful, like 12-year-old girls who are part of like an esports league. So I had to, I have my take this pin, I have my blazer. So yeah.
12-year-olds that going in.
Oh, they were amazing.
That's so cool, man. At 12 years old, I was definitely still playing with Barbie dolls, for better or for worse.
Oh, they were like, I was like, what's your favorite game? And they're like, Overwatch. I'm like, okay, cool.
Okay, yeah. Obviously.
I like it.
We all know what we're doing here. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're all on the
Hi,
same
chat.
level.
Hello.
Hi. All right. So I guess first things first, for those peeps who don't know you, let's have you introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I am Dr. Rachel Kowert. I'm a research psychologist. I have been studying games and gamers for more than 10 years. I'm also the research director of Take This. Em is an ambassador, a streaming ambassador for Take This. We are the first mental health nonprofit to form, working specifically within gaming communities and the gaming industry. I have 2 babies and 1 pug, and like strong caffeinated beverages.
Excellent. And long walks on the beach, I presume?
Of course. Long walks on the beach.
Of course. Thank you. And thank you so much for the host, fam. All right. So what got you into, we're going all the way from the beginning.
Ooh,
and I've heard all these things, but I want to hear them harder. I want to hear them harder, stronger, faster. Tell us what got you into, what got you into research to begin with? And then we're going to talk about what got you into researching video games of all things.
Of all things. Well, these stories are kind of intertwined. It all starts in my youth. No, I played games my whole life. I am a Luigi. I have an older brother, so I was always Luigi. Yeah. I played games forever. Grew up in a small town in Texas where I knew nobody else who played games. That's why those 12-year-old girls were so amazing today. I was like, I didn't have the internet in my day. I was the only girl I knew who played games. And I always knew that I wanted to pursue a career in psychology. I originally wanted to become a therapist, a clinician. So I got my bachelor's in psychology, and then I went to get my master's in counseling. And I realized pretty early on that I didn't necessarily want to be a therapist. I think that is something that you are called to, and it was clear it was not quite my calling. But when I was in the program, I was going to finish the program anyway. You have to see clients. Obviously, you have to practice doing therapeutic interventions. And I saw 5, 6, 7 groups of parents coming in saying, I'm really concerned that my child is playing too much World of Warcraft and it's going to have some kind of detrimental effect on them. Now, at the time, this is height of World of Warcraft. This is also the height of my World of Warcraft playing. So after a while, I was like, okay, do I need to be worried that I'm playing too much World of Warcraft or not? So at the time, this was 2006, 2008, in that range, people weren't really studying games. People were talking about the effects of games. People were very concerned about World of Warcraft, but nobody was really researching it, maybe 1 or 2 people. So that's when I decided to pivot my career into a research-based psychology, which is definitely much more my jam. I do think that having the background in counseling definitely helped and was very valuable in understanding the importance of research and the importance of doing work that has tangible outcomes on the people who need it. But yeah, that's how and then I got a PhD at the University of York studying the social impact of mediated communication through games. And now I work for Take This, which is the marriage of mental health and games. It's like the perfect meld of my education. Yeah.
Awesome. I think my favorite part of that story is one way that you told it around me was I quote you, I had to figure out if something was wrong with me because I was playing WoW.
I was playing so much WoW, and like 1 or 2 parents, like fine, but when you have like a week of people coming in being like something is wrong, it's like, oh, is it?
Is it?
Okay. Yeah.
Well, it's not with your child, maybe not with me, but yeah, clearly something is going on. So video games are bad and they cause violence. And what else can I do?
That's where you're going, right?
Yeah, right. Well, I'm trying to see how fast I can make like a vein pop out or an eye start twitching or something.
Yes.
There's so many.
Twitching.
Because I feel like you and I have literally gotten onto a soapbox and then like yelled out into space. Not even like on Twitter. I'm talking about like in person when we've talked. We've been like, isn't this frustrating? And then we've mutually been frustrated about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then there's the soapbox of Twitter and all of that. So let's go. Yeah. So let's talk about all of those things.
All the things. Sometimes I get on my soapbox on Twitter. Dr. B, the clinical director of Take This, he always likes it when I go on a good rant.
Yeah, he requests it as far as I remember.
He does. I always cite my sources. Sure, we can tell. What do you want to start with? Violence. That's always a good first start.
Violence is fun. Yeah, we can. Well, then we can talk about gamer. We have so much to talk about. But
let's talk about Gamer Girl.
Yeah, let's talk about Gamer Girl.
I would love to hear your opinion on Gamer Girl. Is everybody up to speed?
Hold on. Somebody in the audience just said my wife's counselor said that games cause depression. They cause it.
No. Okay. Now we have to pivot for just a moment.
Pivot.
Okay. There is some research that has found that of people who play games as compared to people who do not play games, in some circumstances, they report higher levels of depression. This does not mean that games cause depression. This could mean that games are an outlet for people who perhaps feel depressed. We've seen similar trends with people who are anxious or people who are experiencing high levels of environmental stress. So there's no evidence that I'm aware of that games in any way directly relate to increasing or causing. I mean, depression is a neurobiological, neurochemical imbalance, right? So any amount of media use is not going to cause some kind of chronic depression that I know of. The science says no.
The science says no.
Science says no. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. If this was like a bad morning show, I feel like we should have like a sound effect that's like, you've been wronged. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a learning moment. I feel like it was a learning moment. And correlation is not causation. You're correct. And to credit to the counselor, perhaps they did try to go the extra effort to look into the game studies research and maybe doesn't quite understand. I mean, it is a skill to study research. Not all clinicians study research and necessarily understand clearly what the research says. So. But no, as far as I know, that's a no.
Yeah. If there's a good reward system, it should help alleviate depression. Well, that's the thing. It also, nobody's going to sit here, because the opposite happens. We're like, why are you going to say it cures depression? It doesn't cure depression either. Nothing cures depression, actually, if we're going to go there. Right. But it can help alleviate symptoms of depression, depending on what you're playing. Yes. Yeah. Oh, yes. Okay. Gamer Girl background. Somebody requested that we offer a background for it before we go on it. So Gamer Girl, I don't have a clip. I don't have a roll the clip because we don't have that kind of budget here. But if we did, what you're going to have to imagine is a clip of a girl and you interact with her and you play her moderator, and your goal is to moderate her chat. And then in the end, you find out that, bam, she's being kidnapped. Isn't that fun? Isn't that a fun game? No, it's not. It's terrible. That's terrible. Yeah. That is literally the worst nightmare of like any girl on Twitch or like on any platform that on Earth that I know of. Like no, nobody in there. Right. That was my tweet about it. I was like, who is this for? Yeah. Who is this for? Like this girl, this gamer girl. Who is she for? Is it for men to expel their, like for some men who are unhealthy, who want to expel their fantasy of kidnapping someone? I would hope that's not for them, and I would hope that's not a big enough audience to make a game for that. It's not for women who are like, I wonder what it would be like to be kidnapped. Let me play this game and find out. It's not for, it's not for moderators to be like, let me see if I can moderate this. If the whole point is for her to not get kidnapped, I guess that's cool, but then it's a game of like controlling her, so I'm not kosher with that, because it's not a moderator's job to like control your streamer. It's a moderator's job to protect them within the stream. Like, I would even say separating her personal outside of work, or streaming life is critical. Not that mods can't be your friends. Like, my moderators are definitely, we're friends and I love them, but they don't control where I go once I'm done streaming. Like, I feel like that's a line, right? And then the other thing is, yeah, I don't know. Like, it to me just seemed like a sick. Okay, I'm using terms that are stigmatic, so I'm sorry, but it just seemed like an unhealthy fantasy of someone to play through that I don't agree with, and I felt like it was setting everybody back a couple of decades. So what do you think?
Yeah, I didn't like it at all when I saw the stream. My original thoughts, and I saw this was mentioned in the chat, was a cultivation perspective. Like, is this going to give people ideas that this is what the mod streamer relationship is meant to be? Because like you said, it's definitely, there's a scene in the trailer where she's like dancing in a club and she's like, what should I do? It's like,
yeah.
But I was talking to Wandering Shrink. She's the mod for Geeks Like Us. We're talking about it today. And she was like, I'm not telling you what to do. Like, you can call me all you want, but like, if you're at the club, you're at the club. I don't know.
You figure yourself out.
Yeah. I also didn't like that the gamer girl, who is seemingly the main character, the title is about her, she has zero agency. She has zero control over what she's doing. It is fully in the mods ballpark.
Right.
Which is weird.
It just in general, I guess what they were trying to do, we can speculate. They said that it was to raise awareness about these things that happen to women. Okay, so I'm going to let's say we take that hypothesis. Let's say we take the hypothesis that that's why you made this game. So how does that connect to somebody controlling a woman's life who she trusts to control her stream? Right. Like, it's almost like they wanted to make Sims, but about streaming, but instead decided to make a whole, like, choose your own adventure, but making you the mod is what makes it scary. Like, if you made decisions putting yourself in her shoes, that to me would make a little bit more sense.
That would be different. Yes.
Right.
That would be different if the main control was you are the streamer and you can make decisions. We talked about it. We do a bi-weekly podcast called Brain Noodles on Geeks Like Us, and Dr. Dunlap was there, and I know you've had her on your stream before.
I've heard of her. She's like our best friend, and she's amazing.
Very strong feelings about Gamer Girl, and just generally about the idea that it's meant to be educational. She was very put off by that because she's like, Gamergate was 15 years ago. Like, where were you then? Like, oh, now you need to educate us about how women are mistreated on the internet.
I like that. I like that point a lot.
It was a really good point. So, general ickiness, I would say. I would be surprised if the game still came out. I don't know what the word is. There's been a lot of backlash, rightfully, for it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, because they didn't say that it's not coming out. They didn't, like, pull it.
They didn't. But they also didn't say, like, you're getting it all wrong. They just said it's educational, and it's like,
yeah, that was the other thing, is that they kind of half-assed the whole educational piece of it.
Yeah. And they're like, we talked to a woman when we wrote it.
A woman, a singular woman.
Yeah.
And there were women that also came out that were saying, like, they were asked to help with making of the game.
Right.
They were like, oh, I dodged this bullet. I didn't even know that that's what this was about. But it turns out
that's good.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Well, because another point of that Dr. Dunlap was making was like, okay, they said there was a woman who helped write. It's like she was also getting paid to help write, which she considered a game. Like, didn't think about that perspective.
Yeah, you don't know what the whole thing is. That's a really good point, too. You're like, what would you do in this scenario? You're like, I guess this? I don't know.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bunch of really good point. But you can find the trailer on YouTube. It's on there.
Oh yeah, sorry. But that's what I'm worried about. Is here's what's going to happen, and I want to make sure, I want to make sure that this doesn't happen, but I can't control it. I feel like people are now going to play it to, like, find out if it's bad. Do you know when you, like, hate play something? I don't want that, because the attention that will get on Twitch, like this game does not deserve that attention, even it's already, to critically discuss it.
It's already getting attention, isn't it? And it's funny because I was watching earlier, we were talking about Joe Rogan. I also have thoughts on that. But I was talking to my husband about it. He said that, yeah, surprise. He said that Joe Rogan, he's read interviews about him, that he admittedly says things on podcasts that just will get like clicks and likes and shares that aren't necessarily his values and his thoughts and his beliefs, just because he knows they're controversial and they will get attention. Which is also, why would you do that? But I don't know
why would you do that, because money.
I mean, but that's not good enough for me. That's just, stick to your guns and don't be like that. It's yucky. But so maybe Gamer Girl is like that too. Like maybe they knew it was going to be like this, but now they're getting all this attention because we're all talking about it. Yeah, which we are. And when it comes out, if it comes out, people will play it, like you're just saying, and it'll get more attention. They'll make money, and that's their job done, right?
Yeah, they will play it, and that's the thing, is that people are going to play this on stream. Like, if we could make it a complete, if we could all discuss this and be like, hey, nobody stream this, then that doesn't perpetuate the cycle of, because streaming is a huge promotional platform for games. It is the way games get promoted. So if I play it and then I don't finish playing it and somebody in my stream wants to find out how it ends, they buy the game, and then so-and-so streamed it, so they're huge, so I want to kind of also stream it, because if they streamed it, then I should stream it, so I'm going to go ahead and pay for it, even if there's free key, like all of that. It's just, I mean, and it's also part of a perpetual news cycle that we have of outrage, and I think that's where I get the sassiest about it, is that anything that's put out there, and I think this is what you're kind of talking about with Joe Rogan, anything that is put out there for the sake of getting an outrage reaction automatically is a no from me, dog. Like,
But and then you have to think too, like, is it one thing for outrage just to be outrageous, or is it like, this is dangerous in my sense? I mean, women are stalked. Streamers are stalked, and
huge
not that
right now we're dealing with it. Mm-hmm.
So why are we making a game that is glorifying potentially something terrible that actually happens, especially during the time when we're having a Me Too movement in the gaming industry? It seems totally tone deaf and terrible, and why is this being made? And now we're all talking about it, but
well, I mean, you and I are still talking about it, so it's getting like people in the stream might not have known about this game unless we mentioned it, but I don't know. But also, these people follow me and I complain about this stuff, so
it's worth discussing, because it goes back to this idea of like, what should are there lines? I saw somebody mention Bully by Rockstar Games, which is kind of a similar idea. You have a game and you're bullying. The difference I would say here, though, is that Bully was still a fully animated game. This is an FMV. It's a full motion
that makes
video.
A huge difference.
It's a bit with like Uncanny Valley. It's a bit of a blurry line, and it just gives me the heebie-jeebies. That's a technical term. We learned that in grad school.
Only in grad school. I'm not even allowed to use that. Unless you have a PhD, you can't say those words. But if you want to talk about realistic bullying, can we all talk about Goose Game for a second here?
I love Goose Game. I love Goose Game.
Teaches you to be such an asshole. I love it.
It's true.
I love it, because you get to vicariously, with no repercussions in the real world, because it is animated, live through this goose, and
you're a goose.
You're a goose, and I have an emote dedicated to it because I love it so much, and
I love
a sound effect dedicated to it because.
But see, that's perfect example, because you're a goose, and it's like petty theft, right? You're not a mod who is like luring a woman to her kidnapping.
Yeah, you're not a goose that's like, your final isn't like getting a woman out of a restaurant to follow you, and then you lure her
to a dark alley.
Then that would be a problem. Imagine this goose.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't be laughing because it's got really serious, but like, I'm really picturing this Goose Game. But you're like waddling, and there's this woman behind you, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna get her.
So bad.
Yeah.
The goose.
So you can they could have raised awareness by making it animated. They could have,
or have the woman be the actual character that you control, and you learn what does it feel like. Yes.
Yeah, literally
that. Or even if the mod, Dr. Dunlap again was like, even if the mod was a woman, that would have been an upgrade than a man controlling what this woman does.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah. There's just a lot of theme. I don't see any theme in this game that I'm like, yes,
that's educational. Yeah.
That's helpful and needed.
Yeah.
And then also there's this bit, you know, there's always gets a lot of traction every few months on streamer Twitter. There's an argument about whether women should and do use their looks as a way to get attention and get more viewers on stream. About every 3 months in the cycle, there is a women get views because they have boobs. And this woman, they show her several times in the game. She's, you know, not like properly dressed. She's, you know, she's not like wearing a cardigan and like a button down shirt. She's just like wearing comfortable clothes. And I'm sure that has also to do with it.
I'm sure.
Absolutely.
I'm sure.
Yeah, they're not doing that to like educate you on the empowerment of women either. 90% positive. Yeah. Thank you so much for that subscription, Moosey. I appreciate you. But let's talk about Joe Rogan and outrage media in general and how outraged I am about outrage media. But like literally, yeah.
I mean, but like you said, it's for the money, and it's always been there. You think about like National Enquirer, right?
Oh yeah, sure. Yellow journalism is a thing that through the decades.
Mail. Yeah. It's always been a thing. It's just more popular now, and when it steps on games and gamers, you know, I like to pull out my pitchfork and say, "Hey, wait a minute. What are you talking about?"
Yeah. But this pops out also. It's every few months. I think they've figured out that like there is a general dichotomy in our culture about gaming is good. No, gaming is bad. Like there's everybody who's a gamer or knows a gamer who uses gaming in a healthy way, as you know, whatever that might be, but in a healthy way. Is looking at gaming and going, yeah, it's fine. It's another medium for entertainment. It's picking up a book. It's watching a movie. It's anything else that you're doing, but it's interactive. So if anything, you kind of get a little bit something more of that. I say this as somebody who was on the other side of that. When I had met my now husband, we've been together for 11 years. And the first 2 years that we were dating, I'd be like, I can't believe I'm going to sit here and watch you play Zelda Twilight Princess again. Like, it's so stupid. And I felt so morally higher than him because I was going to sit and read a book while you play your game. Like, I literally that crap would come out of my mouth. And then what happened is I actually watched him play one day and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Yeah. The artwork, the story, the lore and everything that's behind it. Like it doesn't take, if you actually take a second and pay attention to a game, the game that really got me into games, I don't think a lot of people know this, but is Assassin's Creed, because I graduated with a history degree. And so watching Assassin's Creed, I was like, oh my God, they got things right. Oh my God, look at that chapel. Oh my God, look at that thing. Like I was freaking out. And I was like, you're learning right now while you're playing. Yeah. And you would never pay attention. I did his papers in history class. He's gonna come upstairs and yell at me for that one. Yeah. But like, you know, he would never. History was not his subject, and so so I learned through that. So I kind of feel like I get the other side. Like if you don't understand, it's easy to vilify it, right?
Sure, and that's true about anything. I think games have that extra fun element of, you know, societal moral panic kind of layered on top.
Just layered on top. But why games?
Just an extra little layer of flavor.
Why game? I mean, and we've talked about this. I've written an essay that has yet to be published on Take This, but we've been working on it for a while. Yeah, everybody's read it, I think, without it being published.
Everyone internally has read it.
Right. But it is. Sorry, I'm talking like over you. I'm clearly very excited about this.
No, it's fine.
Yeah.
Why games? Games are my spiel. Games are the latest in a long line of new technologies to get this fun treatment. Yeah. Back in the day when crossword puzzles gained popularity, it was very scandalous because the women might become literate if they do crossword puzzles. And really, that was like actually a moral panic of the day. Like, don't let the women have crossword puzzles. What? And then it was comic books, and then it was rock and roll, and then it was movies and television, and now it's games. And 10 years from now it'll probably be VR when VR becomes more ubiquitous, or AR, or augmented reality.
Oh, good point.
It might be.
Yeah.
So it's just, it's the era of the games. I am surprised it has lasted this long.
That's my thing.
Really started like 50 years ago, and it hasn't changed that much
since like the Atari. When I was doing research for that essay, like that was the biggest takeaway, that I was like, oh, okay, so we're freaking out about pinball, that's like 10 years. We're freaking out about D&D, that's like 6 years.
Yeah.
We're freaking out about rap music, that's like 5-8 years. We're still on this video game thing. We have not hopped off that horse. And I don't understand, like, have not enough people been exposed to video games? Is it a generational thing where, because like,
it's sadly not.
It's not. Okay, go ahead. Okay.
And I say that, I only know that because I'm in the middle of preparing a seminar, but it's 6 in 10 people, 18 all the way up, if you include 18 all the way up, 6 in 10 people think that games have a negative impact.
6 in 10?
Yeah, that's from Pew Research. Let me get, like, I have it next to me. Let me see.
Yeah, put your research hat on.
I'm gonna do it. Research hat. 26% of Americans think games are a waste of time. 82% of Americans age 65 and older say video game violence contributes a great deal or a fair amount to the country's gun violence, but 42% of people age 18 to 29 say the same thing. So almost half of all 18 to 29-year-olds, 42%, believe that there is a link between video game violence and real world violence, which there is not. There have been thousands of studies. There's not. So all in all, 6 in 10 adults believe that games are contributing to violence directly.
So from our angle, you and I can't just sit here and be like, well, it's the media's fault. That can't be the only reason, right?
I think it's a mix of things. So I think the first reason that the moral panic has lasted this long for games over other things like crossword puzzles is the interactivity of it. And I understand from the standpoint on the outside looking in, I understand making the connection like, oh, it's interactive. You're vicariously doing these things, so it must then have a greater effect. Whereas research doesn't really support that contention, especially when we're talking about things like violence and aggression. So I think that's probably part of the reason why it's stayed for so long. But then you also have the sensationalized news media. And it's, every time that there's some kind of crime and it hasn't gone away, it's, started at Columbine, and even Joe Biden this year made a comment about game developers create games to make people be violent. So, I mean, that hasn't abated in 50 years. And then we have the stereotype of the basement dweller, overweight, aggressive, lonely gamer, which again, I've done 2 separate studies specifically looking at the validity of the stereotype, and it has no weight in real life. When you look, gamers are not particularly more overweight than people who don't play games. They're not more socially isolated. They're not more socially inept, blah, blah, blah. But these cultural ideas are portrayed in movies, they're portrayed in television, they're portrayed in, that South Park episode that I always love to reference, and then they come up in the news media. So even if you do have exposure to games, like think about my example when I was playing World of Warcraft, I was like, is there something wrong with me? Because you hear it all the time. So the other thing is, everyone plays games of some kind, whether it's Words with Friends or whatever it might be on your phone. It's like
those 90%. Don't count. Yeah, your obsessiveness with what is it? What was that? Jelly?
Do they not count though? Candy Crush?
They should. Candy Crush. People don't think casual games count.
That's my point.
If they have those same, I'm not gonna say they cause addiction, but they have those same addictive qualities. Then people think. Like, people don't connect that, even though they do have those similar
They don't
qualities.
Consider them games. If you're in a room with people, you say, do you play games? And no one raises their hand, and you say, do you play Candy Crush? And 80% of people will raise their hand. Yeah.
It's the game. It's the game. It just happens to be on a screen. That the only difference between you playing Scrabble and then you playing Scrabble is the monitor. You could play it either way, and either way it's a game. Right. But one way it's a video game, and the other way it's it's a board game.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. That's really interesting. People don't think apps are games. To be fair, how many gamers are out there being like, apps aren't games, you play Candy Crush, it's not like real gaming?
It's not the gamers who are saying it, though. It's the, 6 and 10.
Yeah.
Americans who are saying that,
Yeah, but that's so upsetting to me, because, and it's part of the reason. Like, I was trying to immediately, the South Park episode came to mind, right?
Yeah,
and then the GIF from the episode of Big Bang Theory, the GIF that's often referenced of Kaylee Coco being addicted to their version of WoW. Like, there's not healthy representation of gamers. They're either basement dwellers by the nature of the fact that, like, that's where they hack things from. That's the other thing, right? If you're a gamer, you're also a hacker usually. Yeah. So you're either in the basement because that's like where all of your monitors and computers are, so you can hack into things, and I'm in, Or, I know. It's so. What can we do? Oh, thanks. I did my best.
What can we do? We can power ourselves with science. So I'm going to start streaming, as we talked about. And I'm going to start streaming on Saturdays.
Hold on. Sorry, I don't want to interrupt you, but we do need to do an air horn, because you said I'm going to start streaming. So hold on.
Oh, I didn't know that was
Okay, so she is starting streaming. I don't do that normally. Before you're like, is this a thing on your show? No, it's not a thing on my show.
It's
a thing for Dr. Kowert, because I am obsessed with everything she does. So that's her link. That's her link on Twitter, and then Twitter will link you out to her website, to the YouTube. That's why I didn't link you to the Twitch, because you got to follow the things on all the things. Like, I want you to go. It's a whole brand. It's not just a whole thing. A Twitch thing.
YouTube content, weekly videos, and once a week streaming. The idea being, let me just give you the TLDR. Why? Let's get the game study science out there, So when someone says, do games cause violence? You can say, she spent her life studying this. Here's a 4-minute video, that justifies her student loans. So, yeah.
I don't have those. Should I make 4-minute videos to justify my student loans? Because I'm still paying them, and I can't justify them in my mind. So I think that's a really good idea.
I am still paying them too. But it's about knowledge. Knowledge is power. I am a firm believer in the power of science. I'm a firm believer in citing your sources, and the information's out there. And game studies now, we have a good 10 years of information. But it seems to still be, for some reason, encapsulated in like the ivory tower and behind paywalls, and that's ridiculous, because this information is obviously most valuable to the people who are playing games and using games, and gamers and the people who love them. So
I love that. Oh my gosh, I love that so much. I'm so excited, because I used to say, go to, if people ask me for sources, I'd be like, just go on Take This and read anything by Dr. Rachel Kowert, and it's there. And now I get to say, go and watch this 4-minute video, because you a dummy. Yeah. But I won't say the dummy part, because that's mean and it won't be inviting. But I'll think it. I'll think it.
You're so funny. But yeah, it should be good. And it's fun too, because I've asked now, so I have all the videos lined up for August, because I'm going camping. Pray for me. I hate camping. I'm going camping. In August, so I won't be around, so I have scheduled my videos. But I asked the community, like, what do you want to talk about? Like, I was going to make a video on loot boxes, and they were like, nah, I want to hear about trolling. And I was like, okay, I'll do that. So if you are interested, if there's something specifically you want to learn, every month I'll put up a couple choices, and we'll do what the people want to know. What do you want to know? I will run down with science for you.
That's amazing. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. So I think this is a great time to turn it over to questions. So we're going to open up. We're going to open up the shoot. Fam, we're going to open up the question shoot. Okay.
Let's do it.
It's like shoot, but different,
I'll answer anything I can answer.
Yeah. Exclamation, letter Q, and then ask your question. Any question you have for Dr. Kowert, preferably related to the topic, but if it's psychology in general, I'm sure
are you obsessed with The Mandalorian? The answer is yes.
Yes. Have you seen my, hold on. Yeah, there you go. There's 2 Baby Yodas there, and they were both pre-ordered in December.
Oh, wow. I do have the little one downstairs, and I bought it for myself, but my 2-year-old saw it, and he took it for himself.
Well, I mean,
I lost it.
It's understood.
What are you gonna do? I can't take the
some sacrifices.
2-year-old.
You can't be like, I need this.
He's mine. No, so I just have my cup.
Oh wait, I have another thing. Hold on, I'm gonna scoot. It's a wanted poster.
Aww.
Somebody gave that to me for
cool.
my birthday. Yeah. So there's plenty of things.
Happy belated, by the way. Welcome to the 30s. They're wonderful.
So far so good. No complaints.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Good.
Underrated games that can be used for personal growth.
Well, there's a lot of games for personal growth. There seems to be a recent trend, maybe in the last 5 years or so, where games for mental health are specifically being developed. At Take This, we have a award, it's the Dr. Mark Award, that we give every other year to games that show accurate representations of mental health and portray mental health in a hopeful way. This year, let's see what won this. Celeste won this year.
Yes.
I gave the award and I can't remember because they were all so good, because Sea of Solitude was also nominated, which is a beautiful game, and Greece. So I would recommend those are the 3 finalists this year from Dr. Mark Award. They are all fantastic.
Okay, got it. I don't have the balls to play Celeste. I'm going to be honest, fam. I have it on my wish list in Steam. And they know I can't do platformers on easy baby mode. I don't think I could do Celeste even if I wanted
There's
to.
good options. No, there's good options.
Wait,
in
really?
the where
really?
You can do
they
forever jumping. You can do forever jumping, and that helps exponentially.
Oh, okay. All right. So they do make baby easy version, maybe?
Yeah,
because that's what I need. I'm not believing. It's not about believing. First of all, I know that's the message of Celeste, but it's not about believing in yourself. It's about being realistic with what I can and can't accomplish. And
it's a hard game.
And wall jumping is not one of the things that I am good at. I can talk your heart out, and if there ever was a game about talking to somebody, which, by the way, there was, Life is Strange, and I did a great job, and Kate did not commit suicide in my playthrough. So, talking to people, bueno,
you got
great.
It.
No problem. No problem. Mashing buttons to coordinate with my eye movement, not great. And I'm jealous of my husband every day, and he played games his whole life growing up. So there you go. There's benefits. Okay, next question. What is your go-to game on bad mental health days? Or what is a game you recommend to people who are stressed?
Something that is calming. Animal Crossing is my go-to right now. I love Animal Crossing for many reasons. Actually, the Zeitgeist, one of the videos this month is about Animal Crossing and why I love it so much. But it's really relaxing, and it's regimented, and it's no pressure, and it's colorful, and it's got an element of social. So if you're looking for something for stress relief, I would say something that's easy, doesn't require a lot of skills necessarily, to figure, not Celeste, maybe if platformers aren't your thing. If platformers are your thing, Celeste might be great. But something low pressure and something that doesn't require a lot of skills of your skills to participate in. Animal Crossing is great. Fishing in Animal Crossing.
Fishing in Animal Crossing. No. I'm sorry. I spoke over you.
Go ahead.
Somebody in the audience says it has a perpetual validation cycle. It does. There's so many reward systems set up for you. Things are going to be okay, man. Just play Animal Crossing. And then I won the Animal Crossing skin in Tetris, which is another game that I'm obsessed. So Tetris is my go-to. I'm really stressed right now. I need something to make this go away. Yeah. And then Animal Crossing had a skin for Tetris, and I was like, well, I never have to stop Animal Crossing now.
There you go. Yeah, Tetris is a great one because you can just kind of zone out and shift your mindset to something else.
Metroid Snacks. I have a request for MX. Can you add Dr. Kowert's title under her name? Dr. Kowert, sure. I mean, my title isn't under, it's just our name. So then you can Google from there. Cause my title isn't, but we can definitely, I have no problem. I just, why? Just to make it shorter. There's not a specific reason I didn't put her title, but Dr. Kowert, what would you like us to add for your title underneath your name?
You can put at Zeitgeist. So then people can find me.
Okay.
I am also the research director for Take This, but
okay.
Today we're talking about
which one do you want? Which one do you want put?
Oh, I don't know.
I can put both. I'll put both.
Put both.
Okay,
just
but
put
I won't
all
be able
the
to
things.
I won't be able to spell zeitgeist correctly.
PhD in psych. Oh, come on. Psych. P-S-Y-C-H.
G-E-I-S-T. I got it.
You got it. I have faith in you. You did it.
Research. English isn't my first language, and once in a while, I'm very keenly aware of it.
Fun story about M. M was a speaker at the International Summit on Mental Health in Games last year in Toronto, and we got to get together, and it was wonderful. And we went to this really cool gaming restaurant, and there was a sign in the basement, remember?
Yes, in Russian.
And you read it, and everyone was very impressed. Remember? You're like, that's not really Russian.
Yeah. There's a bunch of PhDs there, and they're like, what does it say? And I was like, oh, use the brain. It's your moment. Use it. Yeah. This is my time. It was great.
It was great.
Does that help? Metroid Snacks? Like PhD in psychology. If that
I do have a PhD in psychology.
Do you want that is what it would do you want me to put Kowert Rachel PhD? Is that a preferred too? I'm not being facetious. I really want to know.
I don't. Sure.
Since
you're in there, just put all MA, PhD. No, I don't care. It's fine.
Rachel.
I do have a PhD. I'm not a medical doctor. Not an that MD. Good at chemistry. No.
So I interview for my 9 to 5. I interview MDs, and once in a while they throw me a curve because they'll have an MD, comma PhD, and I'm like, well, didn't you feel like you needed to prove to your parents that you were smart?
That you did.
Yeah.
You did it all. Yeah, my brother is a lawyer, and he keeps saying he's going to go get his PhD. I'm like, stop it. You don't need any more letters after your name.
You're done. You're all
with
set.
The letters. Yeah.
You're all set. Okay. All right. If that is what it is. Okay, so we got it. I think is that helpful?
I can't. I'm not looking at the screen, but I can look. Oh yeah, look at all that. That's awesome. Also, I saw someone in the chat mention Stardew Valley. Stardew Valley was the initial recipient of the Dr. Mark Award. It's also a great game.
That award was 1, how I got into Stardew Valley. 2, how I learned about Take This. Because I was looking up stuff about Stardew Valley, and it was like, it won an award. And I was like, who's giving this award out? And I was like, oh, these people, they seem cool. Yeah. Stardew Valley is the go-to. It is. It's the original. Yeah. It's the original. It's the OG.
Yeah. I remember when I met Dr. B, who's the clinical director of Take This, and when Stardew Valley first came out, he was like, have you played it? And I was like, nah. And he's like, it's like Harvest Moon, but like a million times better. And I was like, those are fighting words. What do you mean, Harvest Moon? And I was like, oh, you're right.
Yeah, it's a fixed Harvest Moon. It's, I remember, that's another one. I remember my husband playing Harvest Moon and me being like,
classic.
I would just fall asleep to it because the music and everything, just sleepy times. Okay, all right. Let me go back to questions. Exclamation in the letter Q. If you have any questions, we would love to answer them. Specifically, Dr. Kowert, but I'll probably insert my answer in anyway. What games are you playing now? Asked Mr. Gao.
Mr. Gao, I am playing Animal Crossing. That is pretty much all I'm playing at the moment. I have not yet gotten to the Final Fantasy VII Remake, which breaks my heart a little bit because if anybody knows me, they know I love Final Fantasy. But that's next on my list.
Awesome. Yeah. Oh, I was very excited to get to play that poorly, but super easy baby mode. That was one where the super easy baby mode was great, except I messed up by inverting the controls for myself.
Oh, no, don't do that. That's bad.
So I made that harder. I was like,
it's so hard.
I'm going to make it easy. And then I was like, why is this still hard? How am I so stupid? And no, I inverted the controls. Okay. All right. Next question is, did the psychological knowledge change the way you appreciate a good game?
Appreciate any game? Or
a good, like, this psychological knowledge of, like, I think what they're trying to ask, and please correct me if a game solicit if you're still in chat, but I think what they were trying to ask is, like, when you know about how a movie is made, you're kind of like maybe less into the movie. So is it kind of like, did knowing the psychology behind games get you more into them or less into them?
I would say probably more into them, more than less. It definitely didn't turn me off. I think maybe that might happen if you're more of a game designer. Because for me, it's more like, ooh, look at the way that this character arc is Shane in Stardew Valley. This is very intriguing. And it piques my interest. Bad design games, though. Bad designed games with bad representations of mental health. Those put me off immediately now.
Are there any that you can rattle off the top of your head where you're like, you watched it and you're just, your toes curled and...
Any game where you start in an asylum and you're scared.
I had an argument with somebody on Twitter, which is... A lot of conversations start this way, but I had an argument with somebody on Twitter where they were trying to tell me, they're like, nobody thinks asylums are actually like a problem. And I was like, no, they do, because they see it in a video game.
Yeah, Dark Souls. Dark Souls is too difficult for me. I've never played Dark Souls. I watch it being streamed every once in a while, and it looks like... I don't like any game, personally. This has nothing to do with psychology or asylums. I don't like any games where I'm being chased. It's not relaxing to me. It makes me very stressed. So I don't play any games where I feel like things are chasing me.
Where you're being chased.
Yeah.
Okay. There is a time challenge in the remake of Final Fantasy VII. That I'm just
well, a time challenge is okay.
Okay.
It's more about like in GTA when the cops start chasing me and I have like 3 or more stars. That's when I pause it and I find somebody else. Like, can you go high? Like, I get too stressed and then I run into things and I always get caught and it's too much for me.
It's too much. I love that. If you guys have any other questions, please go ahead. But I'm gonna revisit, since that's it for question Q for now. But I'm gonna revisit the Joe Rogan thing. So
yes, let's revisit,
because I feel like I talked about it and then I talked, but I didn't let you talk, which is embarrassing. So my question to you is, why care what Joe Rogan says? Because I definitely was like, why do I care what Joe Rogan says? But also I really care what Joe Rogan says.
I mean, I don't care what he says. I care what people with platforms say when it is not factual. And I think, what did I say? I was talking to somebody about this, and I think my exact quote was like, the information is literally in your pocket.
Yeah.
Like, games are not a waste of time for so many reasons. Not only, I think my actual Twitter response was something about esports scholarships and that sort of thing. There's like 200 schools where you can get an esports scholarship now. But, games casually. Earlier this year, I published a book called Video Games and Wellbeing. And in it outlines all of the things, not all of the things, a smattering of things that games can teach you that are positive, and they can have positive influences in your lives in a way that's unintentional. So these are things that we learn just from playing games, like being persistent is a big one that's talked about in the game. And it's like, you can learn leadership skills, and you can make friendship groups, and you can learn about persistence and determination and hand-eye coordination and all of these things. That is not a waste of time. Just like books are not a waste of time. You're learning vocabulary, you're learning history, or you're learning story structures, and you might grow up to be a writer. They're things that you consume media. It's not a waste of time inherently. And people saying that perpetuates this moral panic. You want to know why it's still here? Because people are still saying that.
Yeah. But he was talking, and to go back, and a lot of people did not see the rest of the clip, which he was talking about his experience, but he generalized his experience.
Yes.
Which is
correct.
A problem, just a problem that people with a platform have. Like, no matter, on my smaller platform have recognized sometimes that my generalizing something has run me into an issue where people agree with me just because it's me, and then it's not exactly correct, or I worded it incorrectly, or I meant to elaborate, but I only had 240 characters, whatever it is.
Right.
So where do we give him the benefit of the doubt? I guess.
Well, I mean, and he was talking about his experience as well, but I would challenge him to think about, well, maybe his experience wasn't as much of a waste of time, because it did teach him something, or he learned something, or he grew from something, or something came from that experience. I mean, he's still talking about it now, so something obviously came from that experience. Maybe he learned to, I don't know what he learned. I don't know that much about Joe Rogan. But I mean, we all misspeak, and we all don't necessarily know everything about everything. But making broad sweeping gestures that this is bad because it was bad for me is generally not an accurate statement.
Yes, that's the issue. That is the biggest issue, is saying that you can't do this because it's bad for people, because it was bad for him. Because what people hear is, this is bad
for everyone.
They don't hear they don't hear per your experience or any other piece of that, which is super critical to the whole. Well,
And then you think about the repercussions. Somebody's parent hears that and they say, well, my kids are playing Quake, so that must be bad. But maybe that kid playing Quake, it's, he really loves it, or, he plays with his friends or whatever it is. So it, it all trickles down.
So what should you do? I mean, how do we respond to parents? Because so many parents have fed into this moral panic. I mean, you turn on Fox News and I feel like once a week, and I'm throwing shade at Fox News because I am. But normally I try to be pretty like, well, we're not going to say no. It's seriously, I'm throwing shade at them. If you watch it about once a week, they will tell you about how Fortnite, maybe mispronouncing it fork knife sometimes, but how Fortnite is like ruining your children, and people watching that take that seriously, and they walk away and they take Fortnite away from their kid who is right now in quarantine and has very little else to do and very little other way to be connecting with his friends. Right. Or hit her there.
Yeah. First of all, Fortnite. Have you ever watched people play Fortnite? I don't think I could do it. It is incredible watching people at the top of their game playing Fortnite. Yeah. If you think that has no skill, you are very, very wrong. That it's incredible. Yes, the problem, I don't know really what the solution is. I mean, I'm trying to do my part in the little corner of the world about, what are facts and what are not. Generally speaking, we like simple answers to complicated questions. And that's what media has always filled that gap. What is wrong with the ails of society? It's Elvis, right? Elvis is responsible for everyone's behavior. So we're just saying the same thing here. So I would just be mindful of if sweeping statements are generally inaccurate.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know how much more. And, subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'll show you the way. I'll show you the way.
Comment, like, and subscribe. This is the way. If you want to learn more about that, you'll have to pay by subscribing for free. No.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. You are incredible. I think somebody asked a question and then we got really excited about Joe Rogan. But I think there needs to be like a separate conversation in general about outrage media and like. Yeah. So I don't know. You know what? People will quote me on this. I'm trying to figure out before I say it, and I'm giving myself time if I want to be quoted on this, but I have a hypothesis that outrage media is what determined the 2016 election. Just because there's so much awareness that gets raised over something you are obsessively angry about, that people learn more about it and are interested and feel more familiar with it.
It's when you mentioned that, my wheels started turning. I do know several people who study news journalism and news media. I feel like that should be an interview you have with somebody.
Oh my God. If you know somebody, I would love to connect and talk about that, because outrage media has been, it's the reason I feel like cancel culture has gotten as big as it has. Like, I feel like it's been on the tip of my tongue, and I feel like it would make a great discussion. So to clarify, outrage media is any kind of media source using outrage as a way to get you to react, and your reaction being a like, comment, subscription, retweet, angry retweet, screenshotted retweet, whatever it is, basically that gets somebody attention because you're reacting negatively to it. Yeah. Okay.
That'd be an interesting conversation.
Yeah. If you have somebody, I would love to talk about that. Okay. Dr. Kowert, are you familiar with EOMMA, Engagement Optimized Multiplayer Matchmaking Algorithms, or DAAA, Dynamic Difficulty Adjusting Algorithms, patents for online multiplayer games? Great question.
I have been in discussions about them. I am not an expert on either. I do have hope that optimized matchmaking may help draw down some of the toxicity and frustration problem that we see in a lot of mismatched couplings in games. Like, I think a lot of toxicity, a lot of frustration, a lot of hate sometimes happen when people are mismatched. Like, one person is really serious and one person is really casual, and that doesn't work out. But I don't know. I'm not an expert on them. I've heard of them in conversation.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I don't know I can't say I know anything about them either. So we are coming to time. I did tell you, like, if we get like inundated with questions, then we're going to keep going, but we are coming to time. And I did want to ask you, do you have any final comments that you're like, I need people to know this truth about truths? I don't know, something to that nature. Other than follow you, obviously, on Zeitgeist, which he links
obviously, because that's going to be super fun. And, we'll see. I'm not good with technical things, so the streaming... No promises. I don't know if you'll be able to hear me. My takeaway that I like to leave with is, I was talking about how sweeping statements are generally not accurate. When you look at the whole of game studies, 10 plus years, 15 years, even thousands and thousands of studies, the effects of games on us as players, physically, socially, psychologically, whatever outcome measure you're looking at, is generally slightly more positive than negative, and at the very least, it's neutral. So when we have these conversations about media's, causing this or causing that, cultivation effects, media causing us to cultivate thoughts and behaviors that we didn't already have, that is a hit or miss. If it's leading to a more sedentary lifestyle, that is one of many things. Did you just go pink?
My lights turn on at 8 p.m.
Okay.
It's made for some interesting interviews.
It's like, bye, Rachel. Where's the cane to like pull me? So my takeaway message would just be, if you see a sweeping statement, take it with a grain of salt. And at the end of the day, media is just one part of who we are. Games are just one thing that we do. It has both positive and potentially negative impact, sure. But generally speaking, it's just something fun. It can teach us some things about history. If you're playing Assassin's Creed, it can lighten our mood. If we're playing Stardew Valley or Animal Crossing, and they're just meant to be fun at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah. I think.
Oh, hey, Dr. K. Hey, Dr. K has a question. I have to answer her question.
No. I was going to get. Yes, absolutely. Why don't you ask yourself and answer the question? I'll let you.
If you had a magic wand and could magically fix one misconception about games, what would it be? I know what Hey, Dr. K would fix. For me, it's the antisocial. My soapbox has always been the social effects of games. My focus of my thesis was, do socially interacting in online games make us less able to socialize when we're not in a mediated space that has, all the accommodations of online communication? And the answer is no. So I would love to change the misconception that games are antisocial, because games, as we all know here, are incredibly social activities. Even if we're not playing with somebody else, we have a common vernacular now. We have a common language. We can talk about Animal Crossing and Stardew Valley, and we have something we can connect on. So I think that's what it would be. Get rid of the antisocial idea.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So the basement dweller ties into that.
Yeah.
Get him out of there. Or her.
Get him out.
But it's usually the stereotype is that it's a him, which is another. Oh, I have a question. Based on the data that you were talking about, is it mostly women who have unfavorable opinions of games? Because I feel like there's a stereotype of like that girl who like doesn't like when her boyfriend plays video games because he like plays them all the time and it's distracting from her. I feel like that's a thing too.
That is a good question that I cannot answer. It is a Pew Research study, and I don't have that information right off the top of my head, but we can easily find it.
That's okay. See, I maybe was even trying to poke at this. Like, if she doesn't know something, get this, guys. If she doesn't know something, she doesn't try to pull it out of her butt. What?
That is true.
She says, I don't know, and then answers it later. Isn't that you guys, that's really fantastic.
That's funny how that works.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting how that works? No, like, it's a huge thing that not enough people do. So and I now, because to me it's natural, but I now try to call attention to it, because I found there's quite, like you're talking about, there's quite a bit of research that backs the idea that people who say I don't know are perceived to be like their information is less factually accurate that they're sharing with you otherwise. Right. And so I'm breaking a lot of stigmas, and that is a stigma that I'm now actively going to be pushing against.
Yes.
Like, incredibly smart people don't know things, and the smarter they are, the more likely they are to admit that they don't know something. So
I agree. I agree. If you talk to the people who are at the top of their game, they're far more likely to be like, I don't know.
I
know a lot over here, but nothing over here.
But not about that. Yeah. Blame the school system for thinking being wrong is the worst thing ever. Absolutely. It's almost like an ethics thing.
It's true.
I'm sorry. I have so many snarky comments. They're all loading at once. about the ethics thing. But Dr. Kowert, thank you so much. So where can everybody find you? So that's the Zeitgeist and everything, but like tell us about all the things that you're doing so that people know where to follow you for what thing.
Yes. So YouTube and Twitch is at Zeitgeist. I also have a Twitter for Zeitgeist, but if you want to just follow like my general ramblings on life, you can follow me at Dr. Kowert on Twitter. And takethis.org, of course, always promoting mental well-being and mental health among gamers. We have a lot of resources. We're going to be doing a lot of stuff for PAX Online, which is coming in September. So that's very exciting. I know Em's part of that.
I'm very excited.
So yeah, you can find all the things there.
Yeah, can confirm she has a wonderful Twitter rant threads. Absolutely.
I have a lot of rants.
Listen, if you like Hey Dr. K, who's been on the show, you will love Dr. Kowert, who is currently on the show. And also, I'm just trying to endorse you as much as possible.
We're two peas in a pod.
Yeah, there you go. The best pod possible. All right, everybody. We are going to take a break. And when we come back, we're probably going to play some Animal Crossing. I know.
That's exciting.
Expecting. Yeah.
That's exciting.
Thank you so much for being here, and we will be right backaroo.